This is Rockhampton with Nyree Johnson, the show about the people who hold our region together, the volunteers, the founders, the quiet achievers behind our businesses, clubs, charities and not-for-profits. Real stories told plainly from people serving Central Queensland with heart. Here's Nyree.
Today's guest is Linda Esguerra, and I'm so sorry that I probably messed that last name up because I can't roll R's. But Linda is coming to us today from the beautiful Quay Street, which is quite iconic in Rockhampton.
Yes.
And Linda volunteers with Volunteers Without Borders.
Yes.
Now, Linda and her friends at Volunteers Without Borders, along with the Catholic Church, have been giving or creating Christmas banquets for people who are less fortunate, for people who are refugees or migrants, just anyone in the community who needs someone to have Christmas with, really. And I'm really looking forward to learning about the passion and the purpose and the drive behind this movement. Thank you so much for joining me today, Linda.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share a very, I think, noble idea and the cause for those people who actually Christmas Day for someone who is alone is the loneliest day in their lives. So we thought that we open it to
sure
everybody.
Is, yes.
They can come in and it goes from 10 o'clock up to sometimes up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And people just walk in and they just, some of them are passing through and some of them just come because they don't have anyone to talk to, or it's not so much the food but the company and the fellowship that we offer. We have volunteer singers and everything.
Yes, I can imagine it is a big celebration. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Like a big family.
Yes,
on Christmas
a big
Day.
family.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. And you started doing this in 2010. Tell us a little bit about how this started.
Well, we actually got together. We usually have breakfast among our lady friends and all that. And we thought that, well, what can we do for Christmas and all, and what can we go do to the community? Somebody is backing up. And we went because breakfast is about 7 o'clock. So we walked through this area, Quay Street and the riverbank. And we saw people just spending the night there and nothing. I think they just spend the day. And so we said that let's do something for these people, not even throughout the year or throughout their lives, but one day when they can feel togetherness. And so we approached Bishop Brian at the time, and Bishop Brian opened one of the chapels and said that we can have it in this chapel and have Christmas, our very, very first Christmas. So it was just chicken, roast chicken, and, the 3 veggies and all that. And the people who came were just so happy to be together and to see Bishop Brian there is something that they can't believe, and see all these ladies attending to them is something that I think they feel very important. So it hit us so hard that we said that we will do it every year, and every year it grew
And
from us as yeah.
And you mentioned earlier as well, like the first time that you did it, it was a rainy day and you only had a handful of people, but tell us about that story.
Yes. So it was really not raining very hard. And we just wondered if people would come. And in fact, there's another story about the chapel. In that chapel, there's a huge painting of Jesus Christ. So anyway, there's one guy who came. He was drenched and all that, but he enjoyed the food. And then he said, I haven't been to a church before. I said, this is a chapel. So not really a big church, but a chapel. So if you want to get in, you walk into the inside the chapel. You can just sit there and have a look. And this guy, his name is Cody. I can never forget him because he's got long hair. And, when they cannot really look after themselves, it's really like to put together and all that. And he said, and this picture of Jesus Christ, he said, it looks like me. And so I said, yeah, I said, he's got long hair and he looks like you. And he said, I haven't even attended mass. So I said, well, there's a mass going on in the evening. So if you want to stay on, you can. And since then, I've seen him got into church. And one day he was telling me when I met him, he was really clean and all that. He said, you did this to me. So I said, well, it's something. It's not me, but yourself. You look at how important it is to really look after yourself. So, and then there were 14 of them. But then we found out that there are more people who wanted to come, but did not have any facility to even have an umbrella. So we asked for the address and we delivered the food to them. 65 meals on the first Christmas. And the second Christmas, it doubled. And the last Christmas
Wow.
we had, we served 650 lunches.
Wow.
650.
Where did you do that?
Well,
what venue do you do that in?
What venue? At the church, Joseph's Corso. There's a covered area
Wonderful.
there. And
Yes.
we set up some cover and then we had barbecue. This Australia has donated beef. And so we had barbecue. We asked the people, our guests, to do their own barbecue. And we had people coming in to bring their Christmas lunch themselves. So that was really a happy event as far as we are concerned, because I can't believe there are 650 homeless people in our town. But these are people who want company. True, there are people who are homeless, nothing to do on Christmas, but there are more people who wanted company on Christmas Day. So it's a double-edged thing, serving the homeless, especially the elderly. They're living alone, and we ask people to pick them up from their house and bring them to our Christmas lunch. And we
that's
have
wonderful.
it is wonderful to really be together on Christmas Day. It's not much promoting religion, because we even have the refugees from Iraq and Iran, from the Middle East people, as well as the people from Sri Lanka. It's all over. It's like a United Nations on Christmas Day. Yes.
It sounds amazing. I honestly didn't realize that this was happening in my own town, and I'm so happy that you reached out to share it with me, because it's such important work, and it's so important to make sure that, to do what we can to make sure that people don't feel alone on Christmas. But Linda, tell me a little bit about, you're a very generous woman, and you're obviously surrounded by friends who are equally as generous.
Yes.
What are those moments from your life that have really helped to shape who you are today?
Well, I came from the Philippines, from a very poor family. And when I've been confronted with poverty when I was young. And I told myself, I have to get out of that quagmire. So from very young, I just decided I will have to have education, because to me, that's the only way I can alleviate the poverty that we are in, my family. I'm the only child, luckily. I'm the only child. And through my grade school days, high school days, I just studied very hard, so that I said, my parents cannot afford all those expensive school fees and all that. I went through scholarship, and then I actually read through books that are not in the library. And I just wanted to be really prepared for my future. So I said to myself, all I have to do is really prepare myself, and with determination, I can just go and do something. And really, luck is my godmother, so to speak, because when I was working in the Philippines, I finished college and then I worked. And while working in the Philippines, I had this opportunity to be working with the captains of industry there and who are very much involved with ASEAN. And I actually appointed the first woman ASEAN Executive Director. It's really a very
Wow.
male dominated group, actually. And that was my stepping stone. But I couldn't get into that without really focusing on my studies. I just harness myself, self-taught, so to speak. I will go to libraries and just go through research and what I wanted to do. I actually honestly I just wanted to be a teacher. But I thought, well, teacher probably is not for me because maybe I'm not patient enough to look after children. But I actually focus on management. So I finished management, and that's where I started all the managing career that I have. But then I always make it a point to go back and tell students, like, I have opportunity to speak before graduation of students in my own school. I always tell them that education is actually the answer to poverty. And why I came to Australia, it's also luck because there I was appointed manager of the Philippine Pavilion during Expo 88. And
Oh,
that's
wow.
how, yeah. So I was one of the few pavilion, women pavilion manager at the time. And I love being in Brisbane because it's really a happy place. So when I was offered to apply for a residency here, I didn't actually think twice because I thought this is the answer. That alleviation of poverty is not only coming from the Philippines, but also here. It's offering a lot of opportunities. Australia is really something that really look after the less fortunate people from third countries, from underdeveloped countries. So I
Mm.
must,
And how long have you been in Rockhampton for, or in central Queensland?
I came here in 2006 when I retired, first retirement in Westmead Hospital in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
So 2006, how long is that now? Long time.
20 years?
20 years, yes, yes. So, and I first thought I should retire and enjoy the weather here and simple life and happy life here. And then, when you retire and you're only young, you get bored being in the house. So I found a job. So that's another job that I found in the barrister's office. So I stayed there for what, 7 years or 8 years? And then I
Wow.
retired again. And one day when I was just going shopping, I met Bishop Michael, and he said, I understand you have retired. You're not working. I said, I'm working part time. What do you do in your free time? Nothing much. So he said, you can do nothing much in my office. So I started. So, so I said, and then he said, I'll pay you. Okay, I'll come. So he said, oh, come on Monday. So I stayed in the diocese office for almost 10 years. And I finally retired in 2024. And that was it. But don't ask me if I'm still doing anything. I'm working as a pharmacy assistant now
Oh
because,
my goodness. So
yeah,
you need to have a couple of chops at retirement by the sound of it.
yeah, yeah. Because I love being with people,
Mm,
talking to them, and by talking to them, maybe I'm doing
mm.
pastoral care. They tell you what they think, and I think I'm a people weaver, actually. I bring people together, and that's it. That's how we started with Volunteers Without Borders. So they're all my friends, and I put them together. So
You're a
it's
very, very lucky woman to have so many friends.
I am really, I find myself very lucky too. So anyway, I'm 82, by the way. I'm
And you're
82
still
this
working
year.
as a pharmacy assistant.
Yes, that's right. I'm dispensing Panadol and all that.
Yes.
But
Oh, right. Wow.
yeah.
Well, maybe you'll retire again and then you'll get another job.
That's it.
So tell
Yeah.
me, Linda, what does being in Rockhampton mean to you? You were not born in Rockhampton, obviously. You were born in the Philippines and
Yes.
having been in different parts of Australia. What does Rockhampton mean to you? What does this
Well,
community look and feel like for you?
Well, to me, it gives me peace. Just go right, like I chose the key, and you just look at. I just turn my back, and there's the mighty Fitzroy, and it's given me really the serenity of the place is something that gives you peaceful feeling. And in that, when I first came here, it was a mystery tour actually. When I first came, and I didn't even know where Rockhampton was. And when we first came, people were very friendly at the time. They were saying hello and good day to you, even if they don't know you. And so I said, well, this is a place that welcomes me. See, and up to now, there are people who've been here, who've been Rockhamptonites through and through. You can see that they are different. They are really friendly and very welcoming. And that's what I like in this place. Not too much high rise. So, and not too much, not change and all that stuff. So it 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 is where I belong, I think. And the opportunities are boundless. If you only want to do something, like for instance, I never thought I will be a diocesan chancellor, a legal administrative person, a pharmacy assistant. It's only here that everything was all the opportunities I have actually experienced and enjoyed came from here. So it's really something that, well, like the trees now, the singing birds. Where else can you see that except in this town, in CBD of Rockhampton? So it's really
Yeah.
nice to be like everybody seems to be friends of yours. So that's how it is. And people who had not been to Rockhampton, my friends from Sydney, I brought them here, and they all say, we now remember why we now understand why you chose to be in Rockhampton. The roads are wider. They said. I said no, there's only less traffic. That's why. So anyway,
I love it. I love it. So,
yeah.
Linda, tell me what, either end of the scale, what's been one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome as a person? Or if we don't want to focus on challenges, what's been a really great accomplishment? You've already had so many, but is there any that comes to mind that really, influenced your perspective? Like you learnt meaningful lessons from them?
Well, I must just say that I was able to offer because became widow at very early age when my kids were still at university. And the biggest challenge I have is that I have to provide them opportunity of having education. And for a single mother, sending to at least 3 of my children to university would be a big ask. But I thought that when you focus on something, it just falls into place that, you just postpone your life for something that you wanted to achieve. For instance, my first ambition is to send all these 3 children of mine to better school, have education, and then find a life of their own using their own educational background. Because I was telling them, I don't want to be poor, and you can't be poor as well, because you can see the poverty around, not only in the Philippines, but there are some poverties here too. So, but then
Mm.
you can alleviate that kind of situation by just trying to believe in yourself. So then my own perspective is that I don't want to, when I was growing up, I don't want to have regret overcome me that I have that kind of life, or I don't blame anyone for being poor at the time. So I just said, I will really come out. So my first success story is being able to get up that stage and receive my school diploma. When my mother was still there, my father was still there. So I just told them, see, I have made it. So that's only a portion of the life that I would like to share with everybody. That no self pity. If you just you have you have to have faith in yourself. That's all. How
Mm,
depends on you. Depends on your own being. So and don't be too ambitious. When you find a job, you just have. I believe in my equation is 80-20 or 20-80. The first salary that I got, I kept 20% of it immediately. And then 80%, that's where all my expenses go. And 20% is for future.
mm,
And it adds up. It's really a good, I always tell my friends and all that, it's 20-80. Don't spend it all. 20-80. 20 is for your future, for my
mm,
retirement. So anyway, so that's about things that, and then I open myself to more education. I am a voracious reader. So I read, and I'm happy with this internet and all that. You don't have to buy a book, but I used to read books from cover to cover overnight. So
mm,
it's just educating. I think I'm
mm.
I'm really focused on educating myself. It's about, the way I
And
have.
still to this day as well, I'm sure you're still consuming a lot of books.
Yeah, 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 that's right. That's right. 80%. On that 80%, I always buy one book every time. So it's a good investment, actually. Yeah.
Mm, absolutely. And you have shared some fantastic advice this morning in this short period of time. And, you've got 82 years of experience to share with the world, with
Yeah.
Rockhampton and with the younger generation of people in Rockhampton.
Yes.
What advice would you give to people coming along after yourself to, advice about life or work? I know you've already shared so much, but
Yeah.
what's that one thing you always find yourself sharing with people to inspire them to keep going?
Well, the first advice is believe in yourself. And then I have a motto that actually helps me a lot. My motto is less for self, more for others, enough for all. So we share. And then
Mm,
less for me because this is all I want. This is all I need. It's not really want, but need. And also, you share it. If you share, it comes back to you differently. So you feel blessed when you are sharing, like for instance, on Christmas Day, even how tired I am or how tired my friends are. At the end of the day, we just said we have made 600 people smile throughout the day.
mm,
Not
yes.
only having roast meal or all that, but a smile, even the donors are smiling. So believe in yourself and go for it. That's all I can say.
Mm. And I feel like this is might be a little bit of a redundant question for
Oh,
yourself, but, at 82 years old, or years young, really,
yeah.
and you're still getting up every day and you're still working and contributing to your
Oh,
community and planning for the next Christmas, I'm sure. But what
yes.
is that thing inside of you? I'm pretty sure I can guess what it is, but what is it inside of you that keeps you going?
Well, it's always I have strong faith, and
Mm,
I think good health has actually helped me as well. And I believe that having a humble heart brings you anywhere. Even how successful one is, if you have your foot on the ground all the time, is something that goes a long way, and people appreciate that without you knowing. And I'm in love with humanity, actually. So I love working with young people, especially the young people. I would like the young people to appreciate what they have now. In fact, in one of my missions, I brought some of the students from here to see how the young people from the Philippines, for instance, we built houses for them and we gave them education. And now when they come back here, they said they are very lucky. So we have something that we have invested. We have to invest on our young people now. So,
Hmm.
uh,
It's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast, Linda. I'm so
yes,
glad we connected, and
yes.
you're an incredibly inspiring woman, and I
Oh,
just want to say thank you so much for everything that you're doing. It's been an absolute honor to have you here today. Thank you so much.
thank you so much. Thank you. When I saw you on Facebook, I said to myself, maybe, in one of these days I can speak with you or have a chat or a yarn and all that. So it's really a pleasure. It's really wonderful to be able to say something. I talk a lot, but I would like to share it because it's a pride in myself to
Mm,
share something that I have done and without really what do you call it, without really spending too much on all the hassles and all that. It's just focus and faith. Yeah.
I love that focus and faith.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Linda. It has been a privilege.
Thank you so much.
That's another episode of Rockhampton with Nyree Johnson. If this story stayed with you, follow the show on Spotify and YouTube so the next one finds you. And if you know someone in our region quietly doing good, someone who belongs in this chair, get in touch through www.nyreejohnson.com.au. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.